As we celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we would be remiss if we didn't also honor the legacy of Father Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. The man we know as Daddy King was a powerful civil rights leader in his own right. Reverend King also fought to get equal pay for black teachers. He once said that he believed his son's nonviolent philosophy was the correct path. He died in 1984, 16 years after his son was killed. Joining us to talk now about Daddy King's is Daddy King's grandson, Isaac Newton Ferris Jr. He is the former CEO of the King Center and also wrote a new foreword to his grandfather's book, Daddy King, an Autobiography. It's being released in a new edition after being out of print for almost 2 decades. Isaac, are you with us?
I am.
How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine this morning.
Tell us about your book and tell us about what you'll be doing today.
Well, first off, the book is a great read about my grandfather, Martin Luther King Sr. I think it's important that we recognize, like most father-son relationships, you couldn't have had a Martin Luther King Jr. without a Martin Luther King Sr. His story is truly an American story, working himself up as a second-generation sharecrop, son of sharecroppers in Stockbridge, Georgia. Walked to Atlanta barefoot with the one pair of shoes that he owned slung across his back because he didn't want to wear them out. He came to Atlanta, went back to school, started elementary school at the age of 16, went on to finish Morehouse College and the pastor Ebenezer Baptist Church, and give the world my uncle Martin Luther King Jr. It really is a great read.
And, you know, tell me about, you know, what you think about the current state of affairs politically. I mean, what do you think your grandfather would have thought about all this, and what do you think about what's going on right now? It seems like, to some extent, obviously with Donald Trump coming along, we're sort of maybe moving backwards after moving forward after the presidency, obviously the first black president. But what do you think of all that?
Well, I think, you know, realistically, we've reached a point where the country's changing demographically, and that's causing some fear. And some of that fear, I think, is legitimate, but it is causing people, as fear does a lot of times, to react irrationally. And I think we've got to, as African Americans or as Black Americans, as I prefer, I think we've got to recognize that, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to make any more progress, because we've reached the point, quite frankly, where there are a lot of white Americans that are not racially prejudiced, but who are afraid that their country's changing, and because of their own history, they're afraid about what that means, and so they're reacting in ways that are counterproductive. So I do think that we've got to be prepared to do some things to kind of allay those fears. If we don't, we're not going to be able to make any more progress on the racial front. Because everybody's kind of retreating to their own corners.
Now, with the re-release of the book, are you planning sort of any sort of mini book tour, any sort of, you know, promotion, any place that you want to announce?
Yeah, we definitely, the Beacon Press, who's the publisher, is definitely in the process of setting up some things, because we think the story is very timely. To be re-released. We've got a new several generations who fortunately did not know my uncle, and certainly did not know his father, and certainly don't understand the history and how that's related. And I think there's inspiration in there for a lot of our current generation that's coming up now. So It really is a great read. I highly recommend it to everybody. And then just to answer that first question that you asked about what I'll be doing today, I'll certainly, in the spirit of my uncle, be volunteering. Actually, I'll be doing a couple of things. Delivering some hot meals, planting a garden, I think, and I even think I'm going to be working on a home for Habitat Humanity today. So my day will be full of, in his spirit of giving back to others.
Okay, Isaac, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us today, and good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, you know, as I was sitting thinking about this book, I was thinking about the whole John Lewis thing that happened over the weekend, where because Trump attacked John Lewis, all his books blew up on Amazon online. And is there any chance that any of you guys have read any part of this book? Or I haven't,
but it sounds like a book I definitely want to add to my library.
I mean, I don't know too much about Martin Luther King's father. Of course, you spend most of your time focusing on Martin Luther King. But
well, one of the interesting things, you know, one of the things you mentioned was that his father was instrumental in equal pay for black teachers, which is actually an issue really across the United States and local jurisdictions. And there's a history of the faith community really being out front, particularly in the late 1900s, early 20th century, on the issue of black education and particularly equal pay for black teachers. So it makes King make sense, because he's in the tradition. I think sometimes, like you said, we think about the son, King Jr., but he had a mother and father, right? And so it makes sense that he would be involved in an effort that was kind of a mainstream amongst the black community effort towards justice and freedom.
Yeah, it's funny too. Everybody in their family seems to excel at a really young age. It's also kind of interesting to me that obviously we've turned the Martin Luther King holiday into sort of a service volunteer holiday. I guess it's the kind of rebellion in me that kind of wants it to be almost like a more than that, like a more of an activist type holiday. But obviously a lot of people are doing some volunteer work today, which is fine, you know, except for you, Eugene. Are you doing volunteer work today or no? I will be doing volunteer work. Okay, everybody.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.